Okay, we're on the air. This is the OSRA client meeting. Today is Sunday, December 21st, 2014. From the client side here we have Ranim, Tarek, and Ahmed. And from the dev team we have Andre, Brian, Craig, Christian, Pavel, and myself. So we're almost at the end of our 7th sprint. And just to give a quick sort of state of the application, our goal for this sprint was to finish all the tasks, outstanding tasks, for phase 0. We had 3 main tasks that we needed to finish. 2 of them we've sent to the client for review, and the 3rd one we have a PR that is practically ready to be merged. So we should be able to merge it and deliver it to the client possibly as early as tonight. So at this point, the dev team is essentially finished with phase 0 unless we hear from the client feedback on the things that we've delivered. So go ahead, please. No.
I think that was just from the microphone, the echo.
Okay. So if we can just quickly go over the things that we're still waiting on. We have Orphan Importer has been updated to handle version 2.3 spreadsheets. We delivered that, and we got Ranim sent us some feedback with issues that were encountered on import. So we have since pushed out an update that should have fixed those issues. So, Ranim, do you have anything to say about this at this point? Have you had a chance to look at it?
I didn't try it.
Okay.
The last one.
Okay. So yeah, I only let you know about it yesterday. So obviously there hasn't been that much time yet. But that, at least we think that should take care of the importer. The importer should now be functional, and everything should be in place. The other feature that was still under review was validation of orphan uniqueness upon import. And again, this was something that we delivered, and we got feedback here from Ahmed. And we have, again, yesterday, we have deployed an update that should be addressing all the concerns that you've raised. Ahmed, have you had a chance to look at this yet, or is it still too soon?
At what exactly?
So this is the orphan uniqueness, to make sure that when you import Excel sheets, that if there is a duplicate orphan record in that spreadsheet, that the import process raises an error.
Yes, we have tried this before and we corrected it, right?
So yeah, you sent us some feedback, and
yeah.
Yeah.
I tried it after the feedback, and it was working properly.
Okay, so we can mark this story as accepted then?
Yes.
Terrific. And the only thing that remains is this start and end dates for sponsorships. There were several points that were received as feedback. And we have addressed, I think, all except one of them at this point. And for the last one, we're almost ready to deliver the code to you. So I think in the next 24 hours, you should receive an update on this, and you'll be able to test it as well.
Great.
So in the meantime, the only thing that you can evaluate is the importer and its ability to handle version 2.3 spreadsheets. And please give us just maybe a few more hours, and we'll deliver the update to the sponsorship start and end dates.
That would be great. Actually, there is one small thing that we negotiated internally, and I know that we should have spoken about this earlier, but actually the point just got into our minds that if you look at the Excel sheet we are importing to the application, the column C, it contains two things. It contains the father's name and the family name. Actually, we were thinking that if it's still possible to spread those two from each other, to make one column for the father's name and another one for the family name. Would that be hard, or is it still possible?
Well, it's always possible. The only thing is that it would delay us.
Yeah. So is it going to take a lot of time, or is it something minor?
I think it's relatively minor. Craig, what's your opinion on this?
Well, it's reasonably minor, yes. It's an addition of a column, and then
yes, exactly.
the config settings file is going to need changed, and any validations possibly. But I think most of that stuff's already in there, so it's just a refactor, really.
Would the model have to change as well? Because right now we're storing everything as just a single father name.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean? What do you mean by the model?
Sorry, that's more addressed to Craig.
Okay.
We're just thinking about how significant the changes are to the application. Because Craig, if I recall, in the model we're storing,
it's the father name that we're storing.
Right, so we would have to split that up into two different attributes.
That's a bigger job.
Yeah.
Let's just have a look at the database.
So yeah, I think currently we're storing just father name, and that includes both the first name and the family name. So we would have to change not just the import process, but also the sort of the internal how this is stored in the database. So it's a bigger job than simply changing the importer. It's not huge. Craig, would you care to estimate it at, I don't know, 2-3 days, or do you think it's maybe too optimistic?
No, no, probably 2 or 3. It depends. It depends how complex the validations are and what. I mean, I'm just assuming that the requirements present rather than anything more complicated than that. But it should just be then, as you say, renaming the father name to first name and adding an extra column, and then, yeah, 2 or 3 days if things go smoothly, edging towards a week, I would have thought, if there's anything unforeseen that we haven't considered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds about right to me too. Okay, so it's Ahmed. It's up to you then, basically. If you would like to implement this change immediately,
Actually,
then
I'm really sorry that we are bringing this up now, but we did not realize that it might be important in the future till now. And I don't know if we kept it this way. I don't think it's going to be easier to change it in the future. I think, right? It's going to be harder.
If you've got, I mean, at the moment we don't have live data, do we?
Right.
So the problem is going to be if we do this in the future. Again, it's not going to be a massive job, but there's going to be additional work because we're then going to need to split create 2 additional columns, split the father name, move the first field to one column, move the second field to another column, and then delete that column if the export went okay. So you've got, whether we do that as part of the migration or in the DB external to the migration, we've got extra work if we're doing it on live data.
Right. Okay. So let's do it now.
Yes.
And in that case, let's clarify the details. So it's column C.
Actually, we can send you another Excel sheet, a new version. Can we send a new version of the Excel sheet?
Okay, yeah, that would be the best, I think.
Okay, so expected by tomorrow.
Okay, and then the other question that we have is what kind of requirements do you have for these names? Is just both the first name and the family name have to be present?
Has to be present, yes.
Okay. Okay. Craig, anything else? Any other questions about this?
No, I think that's fairly straightforward. It would obviously be more complicated if we were working on live data and whether we're dealing with space delimiters or what. But I think, given that we don't have live data, that should be enough information to go on.
Okay.
Actually, in the live data, sometimes the father's name might be in two sections, and sometimes the family name might be two sections. So you cannot depend on that you will have 2 words only.
Yep.
Okay, so definitely a good idea to do it before we have data in the application.
Yeah. It will take more time.
Okay, so we'll set up a new task for this, and like I said earlier, I think a fairly realistic estimate is about 2 or 3 days. And if we encounter any problems at all, we will let you know. Okay. Is there, Raneem, Tarek, Ahmed, is there anything else from your side that you would like to discuss?
For me, there's nothing else. Everything is great.
Here as well. Everything is going smoothly.
Okay. So when you have a chance, please take a look at the current orphan importer, and we will be delivering the sponsorship start date and date functionality very soon, and in the next 2-3 days, hopefully, the change to the father name.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay then, I think that's it for this client meeting. Unless, does anybody from the dev team have anything to discuss at this point? No? Okay. Ranim, Tarek, Ahmed, thank you very much for joining. Yeah.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing from you soon.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Did you see Pavel's message, Nick?
Yeah, but he's not here. I don't see
No.
how.
Wow.
So, while the dev team's here, can we talk about the PR226? The only thing holding it up is the factory girl thing.
With the build stub, why can you first explain me your reluctance to accept the factory girls?
Well, it wasn't me that tagged it, but I guess I don't understand it as well as you did.
Well, build will create creates a record effectively, whereas build stub doesn't touch the database. I think that's what Nick's concerned.
That quite the opposite.
No.
No?
I guess I was reading your message, Andre,
Yeah.
about the validation and create versus update.
Yeah.
So now that you're checking in your validations for if not active and if active changed,
And build stub should be fine.
is this still even an issue?
Yes, I didn't think about it. Yeah, now that we are not
On update, you should be able to build stub.
on update, yeah.
Hey guys, Pavel wants the live stream link. How do I send that? Do you know?
Oh, no.
Um,
I'm starting to feel inadequate.
I think you can find it in Google's Plus on your page.
So this thing wouldn't work?
No, he can't join the Hangout, he says,
Wow.
because it tells him that he's already there.
Ooh.
But there is this thing is being streamed to YouTube, but I don't know.
maybe on your Google Plus
Not in the
page.
control room.
Yeah, on your Google Plus page, very possibly, yes.
All right, let's find that. That's the one it looks like, right? Yeah, it says
Oh, it's
live.
different. It's different. It has the question mark HL equals EN. I don't know whether it does anything.
But this is the one it's showing. See, it's showing here that this is live right now.
Hangouts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
I think this is it, so I just need to get a link for it, which presumably is this.
I copied it to the chat.
So I'm not sure I completely understand it, but I think now that we have if not active and if active changed,
You should
we might
to
be able to use
stub.
build stubbed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is worth checking. It is worth checking out. Maybe it will work this time.
So Nick, if they cannot, if that doesn't work, are you okay merging it like it is?
Yeah.
Well, if it doesn't work, you could create a record from the factory girl params that wouldn't be saved and call valid on it if you're worried about. Is that your concern, Nick? Performance?
Yeah, essentially, because so guys, first of all, just to address the disagreement, I guess. When you use factory girl build, it builds the record itself.
Mm-hmm.
But it actually creates all the associations that it has to create.
Yeah.
Whereas build stubbed will build the associations.
Mm.
So on the surface, build looks
Like
more performant, but behind the scenes, it actually hits the database, whereas build stub does not.
Okay.
So, Craig, your suggestion was to let's go back to this pull request.
I think you should be able to use build stub because you're not up. It's not on update anymore.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, I think you and Brian are right when you say that. And second of all, okay, well, let's try the build stub instead and see if it works.
Yeah, we'll put a pry there and do it step by step, and we'll see if everything goes well.
I mean, the other thing you can use if you're struggling is you can use factorygirl.attributes for.
Yes.
And that just returns the attributes. So you could create, I forget what the model is now, but orphan.new factory girl attributes for orphan, and then just check that it's valid. Then you're not touching the database at all.
Oh, okay, cool.
Well, it's sponsorship, so it means an associated orphan and sponsor.
Okay.
So
you're going to be hitting the database, aren't you?
Yeah, but I wonder if you can take the long way and build a sponsor, build an orphan, and then build a sponsorship and give it those sponsor and orphan explicitly.
I think we cross that bridge if we get to it. I think now you're not doing that on update. I think it'll sort itself out. That's my gut feel.
Guys, can you try it live right now while we're all here?
Sure.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic, because I think this is the only thing holding it up.
Okay.
Now,
So I'm not 100% on understanding it, but I'm pretty sure that with the change that was made elsewhere, it should just work again.
I think you're right, Brian. I mean, if it fails now, then I'll be really confused as to why.
Sponsorship spec RP.
Where was that spec that Brian and I disagreed about? How verbose? Oh, there. It sets attributes. All right. Well, I'm happier with that. Is this too verbose for you, Brian?
No, I just didn't like the way it was in the first place.
Yeah, well, I agree that this is far too explicit. It doesn't need to be that.
Okay,
No,
looks
okay,
like...
I'm not gonna flag it, but that line 119 on Nick's screen there, typically if you have to escape an apostrophe, then you probably should have used double quotes. But I'm not gonna go down that road right now.
Okay.
Build stub looks like it's working.
Excellent. Are you pushing it up?
Yeah, I'm thinking if I should do a build try here, but not really know what to test because it's straightforward.
If build stub is working, then there's nothing else for us to worry about, I think.
I think it is gonna work.
Yeah.
For this Excel sheet, do you guys have a version that it's only English?
No. In fact, one of the things when we get round to refactoring this and setting up a change from config settings, I thought we could maybe have it so that the heading could be in either English or Arabic.
Yes. Yeah.
That would certainly help us.
It would make a big difference, wouldn't it? And it shouldn't. I mean, if we're going to be rewriting it, it shouldn't be a big deal.
So the answer is no.
No, no, not at the moment. What I do is copy it and then put it in Google Translate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also what I do.
Or go to the config settings YAML file and look up the column number, and it'll tell you there.
Yeah, that's probably a more reliable source than Google Translate. But if we're going to do that, what you suggested, that we're going to put both Arabic and English, then we should definitely ask the client for proper translations of everything.
Yeah, mind you, well, we have them effectively, aren't they? For us, they would be
Well,
father name, father. Just
Christian, when you said git add dot, didn't you add the Excel file as well?
No, I closed it. I did a git status here, and it's only this file.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
This was the temporary file from the Excel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see.
Would we not just use the column names, Nick, of the?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I think you're right. Just being overly paranoid, I suppose.
Well, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
Yeah.
Okay, I pushed it.
All right. Well, let's do another live ship.
The only thing that worries me is it may actually take us longer to get that Arabic word pasted into the config settings YAML file. I've never done that before. But then it might to rewrite the whole.
Yeah. We might run into those left to right issues. Yeah.
Maybe scrabbling to get hold of Motism.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
It sounds like it should be something easy to do, copy paste, but
yeah, it's made me weep before, I have to say.
Yeah, it's surprisingly interesting. So, I don't think I've tried that in any other editor, but when I was working with this in RubyMine, when you were selecting the text in Arabic, it was actually changing as you were selecting it. And because it was, I guess, in real time flipping it from left to right to left, and it was just a bizarre sensation. You were never sure that you had selected everything that you wanted to select.
Yeah.
Same thing again. Well, it's the same Ruby version problem.
Yeah, I'm still getting that in my Vagrant occasionally.
Really?
Yeah. I have to be honest, it's not been high on my priorities, given that I can just type in RVMUs, so I haven't actually made an effort to track it down.
Should we make a .ruby file, I think it's called? It also declares the
Ruby version, yeah, .ruby version.
Oh, .ruby version, that's okay.
And that's actually, I think that can be used by both RVM and RBenv, if anybody's using that.
Yeah.
Well, I have one, but it's just not checked into version control. I also have a gem set, the file that specifies the gem set, but the same thing is not checked into version control.
So you're holding out on it.
Come on, they're 10 characters each. If you need one, you make it. There was actually, I think it was on website 1, there was discussion about why those are not under version control, and people apparently have strong preferences about how they name their gem sets and etc. So, well, plus, yeah, if
given that we can't agree on a coding style or anywhere close to a coding style,
I think
if strong opinions exist on those, then we've got no chance, really, have we?
Well, I think our best chance is to turn this into a benevolent dictatorship. So how long does this take before it...
a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But if you go from this page back to the pull request page, maybe it will be better.
Oh.
Yeah, all is well. So yeah, it was no point updating the semaphore page.
That's just not right. Okay, here we go. So OSRA 294. Yeah.
If you remember, it also included the bug.
Oh, right. Do you remember what the
298, I believe. Let me check. Yeah, it's OSRA 298.
Actually, sorry, I should have done it differently. OSRA resolved 298. Okay, I'm pushing the button.
Do it.
Let me see this. Oh, jeez. Okay, so maybe the dictatorship won't be that benevolent.
I'm trying to work out which of us it looks most like.
All right, so I'll push this up to staging as soon as we're done here and send it to the client. In the meantime, they said that orphan uniqueness is accepted. This is now in resolved, and 298 is now done. All right. I think we're doing pretty well here.
Good.
Okay, so now we get to create a task, I suppose. Split other name to first name.
Isn't it a feature request?
Yeah, Pavel, if you're watching, can you let us know in Slack? But yeah, I mean, I say it's technically requested by the client.
Yeah, it's not something we failed to.
Yeah.
Which means it gets points.
Means it gets points. Okay, let's vote on it then. Okay, we're still in sprint 7 until when, tomorrow?
I thought it was Sundays was the breaker, wasn't it?
Well, originally it was Tuesdays, but it's moved around quite a bit.
Ooh, OSRA 300.
Yeah.
Anniversary.
Well, we're going to start working on this right away, so even if this, I mean, we haven't closed the sprint and we're not going to do it tonight, so I am moving it into the current sprint. I am going to flag it. I am going to move it right to the top.
So let's talk about what this involves so we can vote on it.
Right. So in the Excel spreadsheets up until now, they've had father name, one column, and that included father's first name and last name. What they want to do is split it into 2 columns, father's first name and then family name. So that means that we need to at some point get the new spreadsheet fixture from the client. We need to change our importer, and we also need to change the orphan model so that instead of just storing father name, it stores father's first name and family name, I suppose. So if we were going to do this in terms of subtasks, we need to update the importer. I guess this is settings then, Craig?
Yeah.
And
So that's
If we do
basically the config
tasks-
settings.yaml file.
right.
If we do this with subtasks, these are not going to be independently mergeable, are they? I mean, if the build's going to be failing unless they're all done.
Well, you don't have to. You don't absolutely have to submit a PR for each subtask.
Okay.
These subtasks are primarily there for tracking the progress
Okay, got it.
on the feature. Yeah.
Enough said.
And then update orphan model to split father name. Any other subtasks? Or
I'm
that
assuming
covers
you're I'm assuming you're counting the migration as part of that last task.
it? Yeah.
How would you do you want to specify the names of these columns? Should it be father's first name, father's last name, or what should the columns be named? Is it
Yeah, let's decide on it right now too. So in the description, we need to separate
About
column.
father given name and family name.
Yeah. Well, no, that's not the right way. Separate. Okay, let's just write it the way it was. Separate other name into given name. How does that sound?
it should be father's given name, I believe.
Father. Yeah. Given.
Well, at the risk of being pedantic,
Yeah.
we have mother name, don't we? Which presumably is just the mother's first name.
Right.
So do we
Are
just
we going
want?
to assume that it's the mother's first name? Or are we going to check that?
Well, it's worth checking. I wouldn't believe anything I told you.
So then, in the orphan model, we currently have name, simply name for the orphan. Is that right?
Well, at the moment, the mother's name is her full name, but I don't know whether that's just because we've seeded it that way.
Huh.
Do you see what I'm saying? Because we're using faker, aren't we?
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually tell us anything.
Let's keep it. I would prefer to keep it explicit. If we say it's given name or first name, then it's very clear what this is. How does that sound?
I like that.
All right. And then the other one, the client themselves refer to as family name.
Without father?
Yeah.
Well, it's the family name of everybody, including the orphan. And actually, another thing that occurs to me is in the orphan model, we have orphan name method that sticks together orphan's name and father name. So I'm assuming that has to become orphan name and family name instead.
Or orphan name and father's given name and family name.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so it depends on. So we need a clarification from the client on that.
And that's another task, isn't it?
That's another task. Okay, let me get out of here for a second. Clarify with client regarding. Let's look up that method name on orphan. full name. So it's name, father name. Okay, so we need to clarify with client regarding orphan full name. Okay, and then, well, and I suppose another subtask then becomes okay, anything else we need to clarify regarding this task? Can we vote on it?
Yep.
Okay, so the chores are essentially, or the subtasks are, I guess starting logically, we need to clarify with the client. We need to update the importer. We need to update the orphan model, the attributes of the orphan model, and we need to update the one of the instance methods of the orphan model. Okay, let's vote.
I'm ready.
Give me a second. I need to kind of collect my thoughts here.
Like a quiz show, fingers on buzzers.
If you buzz in before the question has been posed, you're out.
Got to sit in the corner of shame.
That's right. Okay, so I'm going to count down from 3, and when I say go, everybody enter their vote in the chat.
Can I just observe the procedure, because I don't really know how you vote, what...
Oh, why don't we, sorry, yeah, maybe we should discuss that. So stories are voted on their assigned difficulty points from 1 to 3, 1 being the easiest, 3 being the most difficult. So basically you take into account everything that we discussed regarding this story, and then you decide how difficult that story is. If possible, if you have enough of a sort of hindsight, maybe, then think about how stories were evaluated in the past. So how what we've decided is a 3-point story, what we've decided is a 1-point story in the past. But if not, just think about the story description, the subtasks that we talked about, and then give it a value from 1 to 3, depending on how difficult you think it is. We vote in the chat here, so basically in the chat window, when I say go, you enter the number that you think.
Can I, very briefly now, you discussed updating the models. Do you need to update views as well? Or yeah, you'll definitely need to update the views.
Son of a... Yep.
That's another subtask.
That's another subtask. So, update.
Probably the controller as well, right? It should, or I don't know. Maybe that should be the one.
Or we could leave the views, and just as long as the underlying data is correct, that could be something that could be done after it went live. That's just an idea. It's not that I'm recommending it.
Yeah.
The name of the father probably should be displayed in full. And now it has to be constructed out of 2 parts.
Yeah. Yeah, let's keep it all together. Let's not leave parts of this task, I think, for later. So, okay. So definitely we need to update the orphan show view. the index view probably too, depending on the client response to our clarification on what's an orphan's full name. Okay, so update.
Can I ask something?
Yeah, please.
When importing from the Excel file, why don't we just join back the father's name and just put it as it is in the database, and then use it as a full father's name everywhere?
Because if they want to separate it out in the future, we're then going to have to take that field and then start doing some sort of split.
Yeah.
And as they pointed out, that might not be an easy process.
And that's if we only do the split when is needed on the father's name.
Yeah, but they said that the father's name, the father's the family name may be multiple words, and then
Well,
I don't know whether it just gets really. You've got a lot of logic in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think we can predict without knowing Arabic. It's
risky.
Yeah.
That's the other problem.
Okay, so update the views. Thank you, Andre. That was obviously something that was an oversight. Is it complete now?
It doesn't seem to be terribly complicated, but it might be laborious. It might take a while.
Only if things go wrong, it will be complicated.
Yeah, it doesn't. Okay.
How often do things go wrong in software engineering?
Always.
Okay, Andre and Christian, do you think you can vote? Are you ready?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So I will say 3, 2, 1, go, and on go you put in the you basically hit enter to register your vote. Okay?
Right.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. That's not right.
Well, it certainly is not as hard as building an importer from the Excel file, I think.
Well, the importer was ranked 3, but there was universal agreement that it should have been ranked 33.
Yeah, I think so. If you consider importer as grade 3, then everything else should be like.
No, that was a lesson learned for everybody.
Oh shit! I have to go 5 minutes. Be right back.
All right. Andre, do you feel strongly about your 2?
Nope.
Okay.
So, as a general rule of thumb, where we tend to be at the moment is, if it's a really simple task, we'll give it a 1.
Yeah.
If it's a task where it hits the database and there's a migration, and that sort of stuff, we tend to give it a 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in this case, it's not overly complicated, as you say, but it kind of goes on and on and on and on.
It seems to be very trivial. Like, you know exactly what you should do. It's not something that you need to figure out.
But even just changing the config settings, that should be trivial. But the way it's written, it's not a case of inserting the C column. It's a case of then relabeling the C column to a D column and the D column to an E column. And
oh, you need to update the importer. Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
I didn't even think about. Yeah, make it 3. Yes, I give up. Make it 3.
All right. Okay, so this is a. Come on. Oh, can I do this?
Since you're touching the importer.
And of course, as Brian knows, dealing with active admin views is trivial, isn't it, Brian?
Oh, cool. Definitely.
Wasn't there a way to easily put the estimate in here?
Wasn't there a hotkey for it?
That's what I thought. It's not E because E is edit.
Okay.
Can you do it when it's in the swim lanes view? Because I thought the other one you did it when you were on the scrum board. Yeah.
So it's here.
Oh, this is totally different, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this all will basically go into the next sprint, or do you want to finish this first and then start the next sprint?
No, the sprint ends regardless of our progress. It ends on a predetermined date. So we've added the story to the current sprint. We'll start on it immediately. But it's possible that it will then move into the next sprint because it won't be finished.
See?
Can't you, in OSRA 303 at the side, the ... can't you change it there?
It should be...
Oh, I found it. I got it.
Do you have a shortcut key for me? Because that's what I was hoping to find out. Okay.
But I did get it.
Story points.
Did that work? I'm trying
to... sorry, I just changed it on my end.
Oh, yeah, okay, it's there. I don't know which one of us changed it, but it's there, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, now, is there any feasible way that we can divvy up the stories, the subtasks, or is it really all too interdependent?
Well, I think 303, everything waits on that. Well, maybe not everything. What exactly were we clarifying about the full name? Because I forgot.
We're clarifying if we want the orphan's full name, if it consists of orphan's first name and the family name, or orphan's first name and father's full name.
Could someone go ahead and start writing the model, the migration, and the...
Right, so yeah, the model can be...
You're going to have tests failing, that's the only problem.
Yeah.
Because your orphan importer is going to cease working. The other thing is factory girl is going to need changing as well, isn't it? And the DB seeds.
How about we put that into...
Sorry, I should have thought of that earlier, but...
Yeah.
I'm actually quite thankful that it was raised now rather than a week's time when we've gone live and had...
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
But I don't think we should relax that.
No, we're going to have... Yeah, you're right. Well, I don't think it might. I think it will.
Yeah.
It's just how bad it's going to be.
Right. Right. Okay.
That would have required probably a whole pallet of fire extinguishers.
Is there any way to like urge them to spend an hour thinking of what they might need and tell everything to us now so that we can estimate which of these tasks? Because I don't even think we would be able to deal with the live data with this father issue, for example. How would you know how to split the full father's name?
Manually, I suppose.
Well, I think what we do in such a situation is that there'd be an agreement when they didn't put any more data on there for a little while, and maybe we'd pull that information out of the database and split it, send it to them, because it would be in Arabic. and see if it was correct. The other thing we have to, I guess, consider is what damage does it do if there's a few records that get done incorrectly, and then they come back and tell us to fix them.
Yeah.
After the event, it's not going to be. It's not like critical information. I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking of some kind of solution where we take that father full name, split it into words, put the first word into given name, and whatever's left into the family name.
And the rest they'll do manually?
And send it to them. And they, if it's critical enough, they can go through all the records. Well, there is no other way except for them to go through all the records at some point.
And hope they've got, in Arabic, they don't do any of this nutty Hollywood stuff where they call someone, I don't know, Arthur Moonwalker as their first name.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Arthur Conan Doyle.
For instance.
Yeah.
And of course, he's written in the database as Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So let's think about this for a second. Factory and seeds cannot be that cannot be done because things will start failing. So can 302 be done is the first thing, or, well, it has to be done, I guess, is the first thing.
I mean, given that father name isn't going to be a column that's going to be used, you could actually create a migration for those two new columns, and you could have a method that called father name, that took father name, and split it.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering whether, for the sake of trying to keep things small, whether it's an interesting thing to do, if we've got time to see how discrete the steps we can become, but how practical that is, I'm not sure.
Well, we can. I mean, we can do it in small steps. I think if we put some kind of placeholders in there to, for example, not to break the view that relies on father name.
So you have a father name method.
So exactly, yeah.
And a father name equals method, and then presumably the father name equals method would split on the first delimited space.
Well, let's find all that out in the process. You know what? Looking at this at this stage, at least, I don't see. I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable assigning individual tasks to different people and expecting everything to work smoothly. Maybe once. I don't know. Maybe once the model is changed. And those placeholders are in place, then somebody can work on the views and somebody can work on the factory and the seeds. But until that time, I don't know if we can start working on this in parallel. I think there needs to be at least some common ground.
Yeah, I think the model needs to come first with sort of a commonality between the old API and the new API.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll get started on this, I suppose, then by reaching out to the client and asking for this clarification, and then we'll see where where things are at tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe you can ask the client to give a list of possible names, like all situations like he can think of, so we can work on the splitting method.
I'm still confused. Why do we want any splitting method?
Long term, we don't. But if we're talking about getting some practice on how we would deal with this with live data and making a gradual transition,
I thought we weren't going to do that.
no, we're not.
So we are setting ourselves an artificial task to.
And
I think next, are you talking, Nick, about keeping the father, creating a father name method that would simulate the old field?
Yeah, what I was thinking about is that, for example, we can update the orphan model, and instead of father name attributes, we now have father given name and family name.
But
But
father name method would return
what it returns currently, yeah. Because otherwise, because if we just change that in the model, then that immediately breaks the view,
Yeah.
the views, the factory, the seeds.
But now we can have a father name equals model, which splits on the first space.
But at some point, you still need to add 2 columns, right, and to break everything.
But no, the 2 columns will be added as part of that story. We'll create 2 new fields.
guys, does all the Excel files will have the father and the first name and last name in different columns?
Everything
Yes.
going forward, yeah.
But they have to add the past, the Excel files from the past too, right?
Well, we were assuming that's what they're doing in the meantime.
So they themselves are going to work with those Excel spreadsheets and convert basically version 2.3 to whatever version 2.4 with 2 columns, right?
You know what? To be honest with you, I don't know how they're handling that data on their end at the moment. Because I mean, if they're talking about doing all that work manually right now, then we should count ourselves lucky, because they're doing the most tedious part of it.
I think this is quite a good opportunity to test that sort of. You're not going to know until you write your father name and father name equals method. How this. It's going to highlight anything that we haven't thought through, if you know what I mean. Anybody thinking, and I think it's a great exercise, even though it'll only exist maybe for 2 days or what have you.
All right, guys. So, yeah, let me get started on OSRA 303 clarification, and I don't know. I'm tempted to assign 302 to myself because I can start working on it as soon as I hear back. Well, I guess everybody hears from the client at the same time now, don't they? Okay, let's approach it from this way. Does anybody have any preference? Does anybody want to work on this? Does anybody not want to work on this? Will have the time, not have the time, etc.
I guess this is priority now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I am interested in working on it myself because I haven't actually written any code in quite some time. Been reviewing lots of it.
I second that. I haven't written, and I'm also probably going to be more busy when the year changes.
Yeah, we all will be.
Okay, so Brian, does that mean that you're interested in working on this story?
I would like to work on something, some part of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, okay, but this story, or I mean, there's always, I don't know. Well, I suppose there's always Rails, right?
Mm-hmm.
but if it's you and me working on this, do you have any specific preferences for what you would like to tackle?
The views and what's 304? I can't read it.
Change the implementation of orphan full name method. So full name currently grabs the orphan's first name and father name, but since father name is being split, we need to know.
So that's waiting on 303.
Well, everything is waiting on 303, but or almost everything, I suppose.
The model, where was that?
302?
Is it 302? Can't see it.
Update orphan model.
Yeah, right. You're showing it in the right. Yeah, the model probably is not waiting for their reply because it doesn't really matter what they reply. You eventually will still need to have the migrations that will have the father's given name, father's last name, and not father's full name.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So
I think that's your first job. I think creating 2 columns and then creating a method that returns father name from those 2 columns. And sorry, deleting the father name column as well, and then creating a father name method that returns a father name from those 2 columns, and then having the father name equals method that creates data in those 2 columns from a father name.
So are we deleting the father name column at the moment? Because I thought I heard you saying that you wanted to also split father's name into.
Well, what your father name equals will take a value and split on the first space and return the first part to the father given name and the second part, whatever's left, to the family name. I'm assuming.
Yeah, where does it get the name? From the seed file?
Yes, or the view or the spreadsheet. I mean, theoretically, if we create those 2 columns, delete the father name column, and have that method, that father name and father name equals method, then and run the tests, everything should still pass.
Theoretically.
I'm still slightly confused. So let's suppose you destroy the father name column.
Yeah.
Now you have 2 empty columns. Given name and last name, or
you have a father name equals method.
Yeah.
And so when you assign to the father name, that father name equals method will get called. And then in that father name equals method, what you do is you split the string on the first space, and you set self father given name to the first part of the array. And
are you touching the database at any point in your description? Are you querying the database, or
no.
where do you get this string with father's name?
From the view, for example.
From the view, or from the spreadsheet, or from the seed file. It's a param. A param will set father name equals.
Okay.
Unless I've not thought something through, but we're only going to find that out.
Yeah, I think I'm following you, Craig. So basically, if you're editing an orphan, wait.
Let's say we had a column. Yeah. Let's say we had a column father's name, and let's say father's name was John Smith. Right now we need to have 2 columns. One of them would say John, another would say Smith.
Yes.
So if we had a seed file, if we are reseeding the database, and we know that somewhere in our seed file we have this John Smith, then definitely we can write the method that would split John Smith into John and Smith.
Yeah, and that would be father name equals, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably yes.
And because you've removed the father name column from active record, there is no magic father name methods created by active record in the background.
Yeah.
So you set so the param comes in with the father name attribute. It calls a father name equals method that splits on the space and assigns the John to the father given name and the Smith to the family name, and we should be good to go.
Oh! I see I see what you're saying. So now in our view we have the field that takes the complete father's name.
Yeah.
Yes.
It takes John Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually we want to have two fields.
Yes, but at the moment, just to
Yeah.
maintain compatibility, we want to create a model that will do either or.
Right.
And then eventually, once the views are written and the views are changed and all those PRs have been merged, then our final thing will be to come back and basically knock those father name methods out of the models, because new tests will have been written for the new attributes. The spreadsheet will take the new columns, and the views will take those new fields rather than the old field.
Right.
And based on that discussion, I've created a cleanup subtask.
Cool.
Good.
Okay, so if then 302, that's the model, that's the priority. After, well, no, it can be started immediately.
Yeah.
Who wants it?
Well, to answer your question earlier, if this needs to be done quickly, I don't mind diving in and doing, what people need to do. But if people are interested, I'm quite happy for people who want to do it to do it. I don't feel. Am I making sense? I don't.
Yeah, I think I would like to do it. What do you say, Andrei? Do you want to pair on it?
It is very tempting. On the other hand, I don't have much time right.
This model also includes the migrations, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for the migrations, we have to write methods that will take what's in the database already and...
No.
No?
No,
Okay.
We are just killing one.
Okay, then we'll rewrite the seeds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, don't rewrite the seeds. Not as part of 302.
Then how can we test the model?
We write a method in the model that will take the
okay, I got it. Yeah.
information from the seed.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Christian, if you were interested in it, the second question is, can you do it fairly quickly?
Ooh.
Because everything hinges on this.
Well, tomorrow I have to work. I can't.
Yeah, my tomorrow is not very predictable either, but I don't know. I would like to say that I should be able to do it tomorrow.
Well, if you think you can do it tomorrow and no one else can at the moment, why don't you take it, Nick? And if you haven't had a chance, we can re-review it at the Scrum tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
Good idea.
So, Brian, have I assigned you to the views as per your request? Cleanup, I tend to think that should probably go to me as well, because I'll be the one who creates all those placeholder methods in the meantime. And I think that's probably in a model is the only place that we will have those.
Yes.
So I'll... No, I didn't select it. Okay.
I mean, based on how your PR goes tomorrow, we'll probably have a better idea of where we are, and we can fine-tune in the Scrum, can't we?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Or even on Slack if it's if I make good enough progress on this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So we'll probably wrap up our sprint tomorrow. Ideally, we should have a sprint retrospective. And then, again, if everything... Well, I don't know. I guess we should take... That's another thing that we should discuss is what's everybody's schedule for the next 2 weeks.
I'm available.
Brian? He's not even available right now. Craig, Christian?
I really have no idea. I'm going to be around at some point, but I've got a big long list of child Santa holiday tasks and visiting family and
Reporting
broadband's going to be broadband's. It's just I don't know. My brain tends to shut off when I have to think about all that stuff anyway. So I may be around, but I really don't know when. I'm sorry to be vague.
All right. And Christian?
I am away on 25th, 6th, 7th, and 28th.
Okay.
So from Thursday until Sunday.
Yeah.
Including.
All right. Brian, are you back? No. So basically what I'm thinking is maybe we, especially considering that we're about to go to production, and the client would really have to throw us something really bad and unpredictable for us not to go to production. I tend to think that we shouldn't start, maybe we shouldn't have a sprint, basically. If people are away, if there is nothing clear for us to take on, there are no priorities at this point, and we might have in the meantime, if the client actually starts using the application, we will be getting a lot of feedback from them and bug fix requests and things like that. Then maybe we shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe we. Oh, Pavel is here. So I don't know about starting or not starting a sprint, but maybe we shouldn't take on any tasks. We shouldn't plan for anything, basically. If somebody wants to pick something to work on, they can, but
it gets dropped if there's a priority.
Wasn't the previous plan, right, on Friday, I guess, that we go to production and then we hope for a relatively easy or a relatively quiet week or two, and then we concentrate on Rails?
Well, it's a good plan as long as people are actually able to do some work.
Nick, but what about you? Are you going to be available for next 2 weeks or not?
Well, I'll be physically around. I mean, I'm not going anywhere, but I think same as Craig, there will be, family activities, and my daughter is staying home from school, so lots to do. So available, but maybe time reduced.
I'd rather lose Nick for 2 weeks than come back and find that he's tried to do all that work over Christmas and been brutally clubbed to death by a steak tenderizer.
It's usually a frying pan. But
okay.
Well, but since we go live, we cannot just stop working on OSRA at all. So we definitely need to proceed working. And what usually doing in it's called like transition phase, when we just proceed working on some not very important to production stuff, but important to our quality, and working on bugs if they appear and so on. So we just proceed working on this sprint, I think, until the end. Okay, we can call it the sprint 8, and just decided what to do, like refactoring or some other stuff, and wait for the client,
right. Okay.
for client ideas.
So basically, we go with the original plan that we work on Rails in the meantime. My only concern is that it will be difficult to plan considering people's unpredictable schedules.
Brian is back. Brian, are you available during the holidays?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, we can discuss during this sprint planning meeting then who's able and willing to take on what, and that will just determine how many things we actually take for sprint 8.
Okay.
Okay, so tomorrow then we close the sprint and we do the retrospective.
Big day tomorrow, huh?
And then we do sprint planning on Tuesday. And hopefully right around the same time we will be delivering the last phase 0 code to the client.
You hope for which date? When?
Well, I don't know, Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere around there. So we because we need to send them the PR that you and Christian worked on, wait for their feedback on that. Ranim still needs to test the new importer and accept it, and then there is going to be this story with the father name that we need to deliver to them as well.
Right.
Okay then, well, if there's nothing else, then see you in the retrospective tomorrow.
Yeah, see you guys. Bye bye.
All right,
Bye.
Bye bye. Good night.
bye everyone.
Bye.